So, first port of call. For any of you guys who watched last week's masterclass, we've been doing the bootcamp mini series now for what are we on? Week 10, 10 of approximately 12. It was always going to be 8 to 12. I knew it was going to be more than 8. I didn't know by how much. So we're on week 10 of 8 to 12. And this is the third week of finishing the sales section. So last two masterclasses. For any of you guys who are, I mean, we focus quite a lot on high ticket sales. So things like service-based businesses, agencies, coaches, selling programs or one-to-one stuff. But we did talk quite a bit as well about lower ticket. So for example, we used Amy's pet care business in Los Angeles, run by a team of 13. We use that as an example of selling lower ticket services through more automated methods like sales funnels and, automated customer nurture, workflows and processes that you can use in your business. So if you are at a stage where I know a couple of you guys on the call, Sophia, Michelle, if you're kind of in that launch stage and you're getting a newish venture off the ground and you're looking for acquiring new customers, the last two masterclasses, plus what I'm now going to go through right this second, hopefully should be very useful and relevant.
Yes.
So last week, we finished on talking about the sales, a high ticket sales script, going through the process of discovery. So really understanding and extracting a potential prospect's pains and problems. That involved discovery type of questions to ask. Again, I won't go through it again, just last week's call. Then going into how to agitate the pain, how to position your services, your product, your services as the solution to the pain, how to tee up various things that you might need to cover on the call in order to put yourself in a closing situation. And now we're going to go through objection handling and an objection handling framework to basically tie up any loose ends that have not been covered and figure out if somebody's in a closing position within this conversation, if they're there ready to be closed and give you a yes or no decision. And also to make sure that you can handle objections in a way that is leading to a decision. Because a lot of you guys, anyone who's been running a business for any length of time or even been in sales, the feeling when it kind of like, yeah, let me think about it. Yeah, let me get back to you. And you're like, okay, when can I get back to you? Should I put a note in the calendar for 2 weeks' time? And then you end up chasing them until they fizzle out and just disappear into nothingness. And it's like, there's ways to flush that out earlier on and make sure that we reach a decision either way, because ultimately a no is as good as a yes. It's better to just make sure that we know that this is not a fit, and let's put the final decision to bed now instead of dragging this out over 4 weeks and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me go ahead and pull up an image that I made last week.
When I started my business, I didn't know the phrase objection handling. I had never heard that in my life.
It's kind of,
and I had never taken a sales class or anything. So if you're new to sales, it's okay. You've also never heard that before. I didn't know what I was doing. Now I own a six-figure business, so it's okay.
Yeah, baby. Good.
You're in the right place.
You're in the right place. That's it. Yeah, I mean, like I've been in sales for over 2 decades now, which makes me sound old as hell.
Well, I think we'll say 10 plus years. What do you think?
Well, I don't know, 2 decades. Yeah, I get when you get over a decade, it's like, okay, you've probably been doing this for a little while. I guess 2 decades is now
What
getting
people
into
hear is a century. Say
2 decades. Like Treebeard from Lord of the Rings or something, like an Ent. Oh God. Right, here we go. So this is the framework, and I'll give you live examples right now of how this would look on a call. So let's say that you've gone through discovery, you've extracted, the top pains, problems, frustrations, you've identified the solutions that they're looking to move towards, so painted a vision of the future. You've uncovered why this is important for them and how important it is for them to create that result and solve their pains and problems. And now you've put yourself in a position where they've agreed that your product, program, offer solves their pains and problems. They can see how it's going to solve their pains and problems. Now we're at the stage of asking for the business. Okay. So when you get into the objection handling, a closing stage, a typical question would be something like, Okay, so besides price and based on everything we've talked about today, is there any reason you can think of why you wouldn't be able to give me a yes or no decision today? Okay, so that would be the typical, let's flush out if there's anything that I haven't covered before we get into the price conversation. The reason that we don't get into the price conversation before there's a deal to be closed is because price is irrelevant if you haven't covered value. If something's worthless and it's $10, it's a waste of money. If something's going to make you 100 grand and it's 10 grand, it's an absolute bargain. So you've got to remember all the time the price of what you're offering is relative to the perceived value that they have of it. Okay, it doesn't matter how valuable you think it is. If they think it's garbage, it's not worth the money, right? So it's about their perceived value of what it is that you're offering that will justify whether it's worth the money. And this is why it's so, so, so important to really uncover what the pains and problems are. What is it that, or like, why are they considering your product in the first place? What are they trying to solve and what result are they trying to create? And here's something, I'm just going to pause the screen share and just kind of talk on this for a second because the a lot of people on their journey, and I've experienced this, but a lot of people will feel an ickiness towards sales, right? And it's natural, it's normal. There's a lot of preconditioning associated with sleazy salesmen, snake oil salesmen, salespeople. It can feel uncomfortable, feeling like you're pressuring someone to make a decision. And there's a couple of reframes for yourself as the person either trying to manipulate to get an outcome or being like a conduit to serve them and help them achieve an outcome in their life. So pressure, if you're pressuring someone, the intention is really what matters, right? If your intention is I want to get money out of them because I want this deal, and that's the primary motivator, it's going to come across as pressure. Like however you wrap it, however you position it, however you go through the sales script or structure or whatever, if your intention is, I want to get money from them for my benefit, it's going to come across. Now, that doesn't mean that the solution is to not want your business to thrive. Like, of course you want that, of course that's going to be there in the mix as well. But it's important to work on putting your intention on understanding them and helping them, right? Try to put them before you within the sales conversation. And the ickiness is you'll take some practice, but you'll shift from a place of feeling like you're pushing and pressuring someone into feeling like you're being a catalyst for their change. You're giving them the opportunity to choose whether they're ready to step up. And if you're going to be someone who's of service to them and they're saying, I have this problem in my life, it's like a 9 out of 10, it's driving me insane. I have to solve it. I want to get this result more than anything. If you're going to be a stand for that person, you're going to do everything that you can to help them reach a decision and have the opportunity to step into making that decision if it's the right thing for them. Right? And that's a very important shift. And that comes from intention. If your intention truly is to help them and you can get in that space of going, what do they need? And if I don't close this deal and I know that I could solve that problem for them, and they're telling me it's so important for them to solve that problem, you've done a disservice if you've been like, okay, well, let me know, no worries, come back to me in 2 weeks. And you've not, challenged them on their own contradictory beliefs, which will often happen, right? And this is what this process will help you do. So let me go back.
I do have some questions.
Let me quickly cover that then. Good.
Could you repeat the phrase, besides price, is there anything else you would like to check? You said something like that.
Yes, I can, Ben. Good question. Okay, so price aside, and based on everything that I've run through with you today, is there any reason you can think of why you wouldn't be able to give me a yes or no decision if the price works? All right. So you're basically just saying like, hypothetically, if the price works, let's put that over there. Are you happy with everything else? Do you see the value? If there's any like, yeah, I think it's good, or any kind of like you get any kind of hesitation and go, Okay, and in fact, let me not do this right now. I'll do the objection handling process, then we'll go through that example. But it's just price aside. Is there
Hmm.
any reason that you couldn't give me a decision? Do you think this is going to help you solve those problems? Can you see how it's going to get you that result? Perfect. Let's go through price. And can you give me a decision today if the price works? Yes, great. Now let's talk about the offer.
Michelle, that's such a good point. Sales is a service. Not offering to serve someone who has a problem that you can solve is denying help.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We don't want to willingly not help people.
Exactly. And this is another thing as well. Like, if you have a framework to have these kind of conversations, it's a lot easier to get over the uncomfortable feeling of like, am I pressuring them? So if you can just do the framework, you don't need to worry about, oh, okay, I feel really uncomfortable and awkward. It's like, just do the framework, you know? Isolate. So you go through price, you're like, here's the deal. Do you want to go ahead? They say, I mean, yeah, I like it. It sounds good. I just need a week or so to think about it. Let me think about it and come back to you. That's the objection, right? So to isolate, first part is you say, okay, totally understand, no problem at all. I know it's important to make the right decision. Besides wanting to think about it, and you recognize this, a similar question. So, besides wanting to think about it, is there anything else that you're not happy with within what we've talked about? Does everything else work? If you think about it and you're happy and it makes sense, would you be happy to go ahead? Or is there anything else? Right? So, you're isolating the objection. I want to think about it. Okay. Is this the only thing on the table? Or is there other stuff that we need to consider? Like, is the price also too much? Or do you also need to speak to your spouse? Or do you also feel that the offer's not actually that relevant for you? Okay, so you isolate. They say, no, 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 it's just that. If I'm pretty comfortable, I just want to take some time to think it over. That's the only thing. If I'm happy, then I'm happy to go ahead. And you say, okay, great. Clarify. So to clarify, you need to understand what they mean with their objection. So I want to think about it could mean 10 different things. It could mean I want to think about whether your product's right for me. It could mean I want to think about whether I'm ready to invest this money right now because it's going to put me quite financially tight. It could mean I want to think about whether this is the right deal for me or whether these other three people that I'm looking at and have looked at are going to be the one that I'll choose to go for. Could mean a whole myriad of different things. So when you clarify, you say, all right, so help me understand when you say X, do you mean Y or Z? Right. So when you say, I want to think about it, do you mean that you're not sure if the deal's right for you? Or do you mean that the price is a little outside of reach? Or do you mean you're considering other options? Help me understand what that means. And what you want to get to is them saying, "Oh no, no, I love the product," or I'm pretty comfortable. It's just the finances, or it's just I am considering against a couple of other options, and I just need to make sure that I pick the option that's best to help me solve this problem, or whatever it is, right? So just getting them to clarify what they mean, because what humans tend to do when someone asks us a question that's a little uncomfortable will like, for example, do you want to buy this for 5 grand or whatever it is? And it's like, okay. The first answer tends to be a smokescreen. Often not intentionally, they're not trying to mislead you, but the first answer will often be, okay, yeah, let me come back to you. It's the default response that we've programmed into ourselves over the years of how we handle these kind of conversations. Oh, someone's asking me an uncomfortable sales question. Let me think about it and get back to you. This feels a bit uncomfortable. I just want to distance myself from this decision for a little bit. Let me think about it. And so when you get to clarify, what you're doing is you're flushing out the real objection. Because if you start handling the wrong objection, they say, I want to think about it, and you start handling, oh, don't you see the value? When actually they do see the value, it's just that the finances are going to be really tight. Then you're not going to solve the problem. They'll still say, okay, no, I appreciate that, but let me come back to you. Let me think about it still. You haven't solved the problem, right? So you clarify. So let's say they say, yeah, I just want to think about the money. It's a lot of money. I need to look at my finances. I just need to be sure whether I'm ready to invest in something like this right now. You say, got it. That makes complete sense. So hypothetically, if you were comfortable and confident that it was the right decision and you were ready to invest that money, would you be going ahead with me right now? That's pre-close. The key is hypothetically, right? That word is a lot lower pressure than saying like, all right, well, if we get it sorted right now, you're going to buy from me. And it's like, whoa, buddy, hold up, rein it back a little bit there, right? So you say, got it, makes complete sense. All right, so hypothetically, if we solved that challenge, or if you were comfortable that you were ready to invest that money, would you be going ahead with me and saying yes today? Again, it's a minimized risk. It's like, oh well, hypothetically, yeah. Like, we're not in that situation. So I hypothetically, yeah, I would. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And again, the point is that you're getting someone to this place of considering, well, okay, well, is there anything else in the mix? Because what will often happen, you pre-close and they say, well, yeah, okay, it's the money and also this other thing. And then what do? If they say this other something else, you loop right back to the top and you say, okay, got it. So besides the money and beside that other thing that you mentioned, is there anything else that would stop you making a yes or no decision with me? No? Okay, good. So when you said that other thing, help me understand what you mean by that. Is it Y or is it Z? Right? Clarify. They say, oh, I meant Z. Okay, got it. Cool. So hypothetically, if we solved the price thing, and if you were happy with us solving this Z thing over here, would you be saying yes to me today? They say, well, there's also this other thing. Okay, cool, no problem. Right back to the top again. Just keep doing it. And you might be like, God, that's got to be awkward and weird, right? No, you can literally do this 5 times. Nobody notices, nobody cares. They're in their own head about, they're thinking through this quite, big decision a lot of the time. They're not thinking about what words are you saying in your mouth, and is this something that you've repeated 4 times? And this is really weird. Like, it's just, don't worry, just literally do it again. Just literally do it again until you've flushed everything out. And they say, no, if you can solve those 5 things, right? Worst case, normally it's one, sometimes it's two, occasionally it's three. Once in a blue moon, it will be these 5 things. They're like, if we could solve all of those things, I'd be happy to go ahead with you. Like, perfect. Only then do we handle the objection. Most people in sales, and especially, if you're kind of earlier on in a sales experience, most of the time someone gives you an objection and the natural gut instinct is to start trying to justify and say, well, if you think about it, then this thing, and actually it's not that expensive because you're getting all this value and That's the natural response. We want to justify, we want to try and prove the value. That is the absolute opposite way to do it if you want to help someone move to making a buying decision that's right for them and seeing the value, right? Handle the objection. How do we do that? I'm so glad you asked. Let me show you. Here we go.
We do have a question in the chat.
Cool.
Ben asks, working with non-native English speakers hypothetically is a little challenging to understand. Any more simple way to ask?
Yeah, just change.
Theoretically?
It's probably about the same,
Oh, okay.
So maybe something like
Super
fluent purposely.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what would I say if I was going really, really simply? Something like so let's imagine, just pretend.
I like that.
Yeah, just pretend that we solved that.
Let's imagine dragons.
Let's imagine dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's imagine that we solved that. If that was okay and you were happy, would you be saying yes to me? Or is there something else on your mind? Something like that. But the important thing is it's like imagined, right? It's like it's not, I know we haven't solved it. I get it. I'm not pressuring you to make a decision. I know we haven't, but if we did, would you be happy? Okay, cool. So let's talk about, I want to think about it. This is how we handle the ejection. So does anyone recognize, based on the format that I've just shown you here, what this first paragraph might be? Besides wanting to take some time to think about it, is there anything else that would stop you from making a yes or no decision? Or are you happy with everything else we've talked about? Isolate. Okay. They say, no, that's great. Like, yeah, I just want to take some time, just want to take a couple of days. I'm happy with everything else. The price makes sense. Yeah, it's a little expensive, but I can afford it, and I can see like the clearly it's incredibly valuable. I can see why it's priced the way it is. It's within reach. I just want to kind of think it over, mull it over, and just take some time to make this decision. Okay, no worries. So when you say you want to think about it, oh, thank you. Amy's going rogue. So when you say you want to think about it, help me understand what that means. You want to think about whether it will actually help you create XYZ result that we talked about earlier, or whether that result is important to you right now, or is it the
Mhm.
price? Just help me understand what it is that you want to think about. They say again, yeah, it's just I just want to take some time to make this decision. It is a lot of money. I do see the value. I tend to just make decisions this way. I just don't want to, sort of commit to anything right here. Just want to think about it.
Just so people can follow along.
Good work, mate. Love it. Keep going. Oh no, God, if I move, it changes everything.
Deleted them.
No, actually, no, that's perfect. I can move it to the arrow. Can you command
Oh,
it?
you want me to move? Okay, all right, all right.
There we go. Right, no worries.
That's good, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty good. There we go. Gotcha. So then let me ask you, if you were absolutely 100% confident that you were guaranteed to create the result we've been discussing, would you be saying yes to me right now? Now, this is going to do one of two things. Either, again, it's like a pre-close, it will flush an objection out. They say, well, okay, even if it was guaranteed, I have this other thing that's on my mind, right? Or they say, oh, I mean, yeah, like if I was absolutely certain that I'd create the result, I'd be investing with you right now. 9 out of 10 times, that's going to be the answer to this question. If you were, again, it's hypothetical. If you were absolutely 100% confident, you were guaranteed to create the result we've been discussing, would you be saying yes to me right now?
I feel like the guy in Wolf of Wall Street talks like that.
I mean, it's sales. Like you're going to see,
Yeah.
there's a lot of sales training. There's going to be overlapping methodologies and frameworks and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And all you're doing again, the reason that you'll see this as we go through the thread, the entire thing is question based. You're never really telling them anything. You're questioning them about their beliefs, about their value, about their priorities, and so on and so forth. So you'll see this, right? So they say, oh yeah, for sure, I'd 100% be. Oh, is your laptop just
Mhm.
died? Here you go, babe. Yeah. Yeah, I would 100% be going ahead. If I knew it was guaranteed, yeah, I'd be saying yes to you right now. Okay, great. Then you say, why? This is so important. When you start asking why, and you'll see this a few times down here, when someone commits to a stance, right? And remember, we're talking about their problems and their result that they want to create, right? This is important. This is why intention is so important. This plug in, it should work in a minute. This is why intention is so important. They tell you, oh, yeah, absolutely. If I knew I'd create that result, I would go for it. Well, why? Why would you go for it? They're then going to sell to you about why they believe your program will help them solve their pains and problems. Oh, because like you've shown me, you've got all these case studies and these testimonials, and like, the result is so much like higher than the investment, and this reason and that reason, and blah, 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 and all these reasons. They're going to tell you what they see as valuable in the program that you've just told them about for the last 20, 30 minutes. Okay. So then you say, all right, so this is a Hormozy line. So again, you'll recognize like different things from different people. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is you'd be happy to go ahead now, and 0 is you'd never in a million years work with me, where are you at right now? And they say an 8 or a 9 or a 7, 7, 8 or 9. Why are you always going to get a 7, 8 or 9? Well, because if you look at this question very carefully, can anyone spot anything about this question? This one right here. Can anyone notice anything about this question?
Well, if somebody says it's a 10, then they've got to buy, surely. Is that it?
I mean, that's part of it for sure, but most of the time, because they've already told you that they're not going to buy, they're probably not going to say a 10, because otherwise it would be like, well, what are you doing? Just buy it, right? You're probably going to get not a 10. But why from this question can we pretty much guarantee it's going to be in the sevens, eights, and nines? Anyone see it?
Is there anyone in the
Is
chat?
it something to do with a million years? Is
Like,
it something to do with that?
Something to do with that. So what the way we've positioned this, 10 is you're happy to go ahead. 0 is massively exaggerated towards the negative, right? Never in a million years would you work with me versus, oh, I'm happy to go ahead. So what's 5? 5 is, I don't know, I don't even like you or something like that. Like 5 would not be relative to, oh, well, never in a million years would I work with you. 10 is like, oh, okay, I'm happy to go ahead. Well, I'm at like, oh, I'm almost happy to go ahead. I just have a concern. Okay, well, that's got to be like a 9 or an 8 or a 7 or something like that. Right? So it's like, I'm not going, if imagine I exaggerated it the other way. 0 is I'm like, yeah, almost ready to go ahead. And 10 is like, I'm jumping for joy and this is the most amazing thing I can imagine and I'm so excited. They'd be like, well, I mean, I'm probably like a 2 then because I'm like nearly happy to go ahead, right? So do you see how the positioning of the scale changes the answer here? So this is quite an important question, right? So they say they're an 8. Okay, so you're like, okay, so given that you're 8 out of 10, would it be fair to say that wanting to think about it is actually more about wanting to feel a sense of certainty before making a yes or no decision? Is that fair to say? You want to feel certain? They're like, yeah, I guess that is. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I want to be certain this is the right decision. I want to be a 10. You're like, great, okay. Is this usually how you make decisions? By thinking about it and waiting for certainty? They say, yeah, I mean, I guess it is. I normally don't buy things on the day. I want to kind of mull things over, think things through, take my time, and yeah, normally I do things like this. You're like, okay. So would you agree that the decisions that someone makes leads to the actions that they take, which dictates the results that they create? Would you agree with that statement? And they say, well, yeah, I guess so. Like your decisions lead to your actions lead to the results. Like, yeah, that makes sense. I'd agree with that. Well, why? Why would you agree with that? And they say, and they justify their stance based on their beliefs. Okay. Michelle, do you have a question?
Doesn't have to be answered right now, but it's too long to type, I think.
Okay, well, let me finish this through and then we'll pick up your question at the end.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Cool. So why? And you'll get them to commit to their stance. Why do they believe that? Right? And it's coming from them. You're not telling them what they should believe. They're telling you what they believe. Right, okay, cool. Right? It's coming from them. And you've not been creating the results that you want in your business so far, right? I mean, we've sort of talked about this throughout the call. You want to be over there at the moment you're here. This is why we're talking about this program. Is that fair to say? We're not creating the results that we want. Okay. So in that case, do you think that deferring making yes or no decisions quickly could possibly be part of the reason that you've not created the results that you want in your business right now? And so, well, I guess so. I guess that could be a part of it. Okay. What happens if you carry on deferring making yes or no decisions in this way and repeating the current results in your business for the next 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, or even 2 years? They go, well, this will be the ramification. This would be the result. I wouldn't be where I want to be. I wouldn't have the money. I wouldn't be able to, save my kids' college fund. I wouldn't be able to do this and do this and do this and do this and do this. Okay. And are you willing to settle for that? They say, no, I'm not. You're like, well, why not? Because you can. I mean, like, it's your choice. Like, you can do. And I'm not here to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. But are you willing to settle for that? They say, well, definitely not. You're like, okay. So what do you think that a successful entrepreneur who ultimately goes on to create the result that you want to create, what would they do in this moment? They say, well, I guess I'd make a decision. So what do you want to do? All right, well, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, it makes sense. Like I'm an 8 out of 10 and yeah, I guess let's do it. Okay, are you sure? You don't have to. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I want to do it. Yeah, let's do it. You're like, okay, cool. Sounds good. Let's do it. All right. So this thread, and don't get me wrong, there's many different ways of positioning how you take an objection and you reframe why the belief that they have at the moment is not serving them. Can you see how easy it would be to manipulate someone in this situation? Yeah. This is why intention is so important. And I don't like, the community that we have here. I don't think I need to sort of really highlight this point. I will mention it, but I won't hammer it home. But when I was in my early 20s, like early sales career, like trying to hit sales targets and blah, 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 there was times where I stepped into more gray areas. Don't deal with that karmic bullshit. Like you don't want to be
Can you clarify what you mean?
by karmic bullshit.
No, clarify what you mean when you stepped into the gray area.
Yeah, so like I want the deal. I know that this probably isn't the right thing for this person, but I'm going to close them anyway.
Because you were trying to hit a quota.
Just trying to hit a
So it was about
target.
money, not
Yeah,
about serving. Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, you might get the deal. Often you will get the deal and you get the money. You don't feel good about yourself. And that shit adds up over time.
And then they complain to the account managers
Yeah,
6 months from now.
that's right. Amy used to be a CSM
I used to
and
be a long-term account manager, and they would always be like, sales promised us X, Y, and Z. And it was just notorious that these problems would come up 6 to 12 months down the line.
yeah.
The account managers would have to handle that. But you got your quota.
Yeah, exactly. And look, the important thing is most of us joining these calls, business owners. And
Yeah,
if you close someone where you know it's not right for them, you are creating a bucket load of problems down the
yeah,
line on
it's so
in your
true.
deliverables. Like, don't do it.
Yeah.
So this is why it's so important. And again, if you're coming at it from the right place and you can challenge someone um in a supportive way around their own beliefs, you're not being like, you're wrong, you're an idiot, here's why you should rethink your entire, life or whatever. That's not how it's coming across. It's like, well, let's draw attention to, you say you want these things, but are you currently acting in a way that is aligned with someone who gets those things? With no, like if I'm going to support you in creating that result, I've got to basically act as a coach. I've got to handhold you through this process of making an uncomfortable decision. And at the end of the day, like, no is as good as yes. If it's not a fit and they decide it's not the right fit for them, like that's okay. Like, no problem. You don't have to say yes. It's about leading someone to choose, make a decisive choice about what do they want to be a stand for within themselves, their identity, their life. If they say that they want to, for example, create a financial result for their kids' future, but they're burying their heads in the sand and avoiding making decisions that are going to help them create that result, someone's got to be a stand for them at some point and draw attention to that contradictory belief and say, well, which one is it? Because they're not both true, right? You've got to choose, pick a stance. If you're going to bury your head in the sand and continue on that path, own it. Take responsibilities. It's like I'm choosing to take that path, and that's my decision, right? So, all of that being said, that is how to handle an objection. There's different ways to handle it. I do have another one. I'm not going to go through this on the call, but I'll share this doc with you as well.
Do we want to answer Michelle's question?
Yeah, Michelle, will come to you in a second. One thing I will say, again, you'll recognize that when we go down the thread of price, like too expensive, right? Again, have a look at this. If you're watching the recording in the school community, it's going to be down below, bottom left corner, resources, and it's going to be called the Handling Common Objections document. So just click resources down below. If you're watching on YouTube, then down below you will see a link to join the school community. So click that link, join the community, and then you will be able to access this document, or just screenshot. If you're watching on YouTube, you can screenshot it as well. I mean, look, it's right here. So yeah, you'll notice as well that we circle back to a very similar thread as we went through up here, because again, a lot of it is about certainty. It's about this seeking certainty before making decisions. Right? If we're making an uncomfortable decision, whether it's price, whether it's the value, whether it's like you could reel off probably 5 different things, a lot of the time it's about wanting to feel certain before making a decision. And certainty is an illusion. Nothing's certain. And it's about an entrepreneur is more capable of gathering the information, being 70-30 and making a decision to just, we're going to go that way. And if it's wrong, we'll pivot. Cool. No problem at all. Right. So this is a lot of the time, these objections come back to these human psychology aspects that seem to come up a lot of the time in sales. Michelle, what's your question?
I even have 2, if I may.
You may.
The first one that just came up was, how did you bridge that gap between hypothetically, if everything was solved, to them saying yes without actually telling them how you're going to solve whatever the objection was. So let's say they weren't sure that this is exactly going to solve their problem, but you're just saying, okay, from an 8 out of 10, how much do you think it will? But you're not actually like, answering or adding any more justification to it.
Yeah, so that would be two different objections. So let's say, for example, they tell you, well, I want to think about it. You isolate, you say, okay, so besides wanting to think about it, is there anything else that stop you going ahead? They say no. Then you clarify. So then you would say, okay, so when you say you want to think about it, give me a bit of an idea about what that means. Is it that you're not sure of the value? Is it the money? Like just help me understand what it is you're thinking about. Maybe I can help you. They say, well, it's kind of I'm not sure if it's the right thing for me. Right? Is this the value? Like I like this and this, but I feel like this and this maybe these parts of the program. I'm not sure if that's relevant, or I don't know if I can get something cheaper elsewhere. I'm just really not clear on the value. All right. And you go, okay, makes sense. Hypothetically, if you were completely confident that this was everything you were looking for and it was going to help you solve your problems, would you be saying yes to me today? They say, I mean, yeah, if I was confident that the value is exactly what I'm looking for, I'd be saying yes to you today. They say, great, got it. Now you're handling a different objection. So at that point, the objection handle for like, I don't see the value might be something along the lines of, okay, well, totally get that you don't see the value, no problem at all. What would I have needed to show you, guarantee you, or demonstrate to you today that would have you biting my hand off and saying yes to me right now? It will be the most valuable thing you can imagine. They either come up with something and they say, this, if you said this would have been great. You're like, okay, well, maybe we can talk about how to factor something like that in. What would that need to look like, right? Or they say, well, honestly, I don't really know. I'm not sure. In that situation, what you would do is you would cycle right back to the information you got at the discovery about their pains and problems. You're like, okay, no problem at all. So you told me earlier on that you were really struggling with winning your first couple of clients in your business, or whatever the problem is. John, okay. Yeah, you told me before you're really struggling with winning the first couple of clients in your business. You mentioned that you've tried to solve this a few times, you've not really had any luck. Obviously, we've talked through the ramifications of not solving this. You've got 3 months of financial runway left. Obviously, it's very important to solve this. You really then talked about how what my solution will help you with that. Did you feel that it was missing the mark there? Like, just again, talk me through where we didn't quite cover that value, or where you feel it wouldn't help you create that result. And again, we're just sort of continuing to flash, like we're going back to pains, problems, results, why they told you that it's so important for them to solve this, and where they don't believe that your program, product, offer, whatever it is, will solve this. All right. Because it could be a misunderstanding.
Yeah. Can you walk through the psychology in like a couple sentences about why you are isolating the objections? Because that was a really new concept when we talked about this like a few months ago.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, why wouldn't you just address all of them at once?
Yeah.
So why do you isolate?
Yeah, it's a couple of different things. I mean, from our side, from a closing perspective, we want to understand what we're working with so that we can help someone solve those pains and problems and reach a yes or no decision. Because think of it this way as well. If we don't give them everything they need to make a yes or no decision, they'll be uncertain, they won't commit, they will want to think about it, it will fizzle out. And again, we're back in this place of like, they're on this call with you to learn how to solve a problem. If you have a solution to that problem, we have a moral responsibility, really, to do the best that we can to help them reach a decision. When you isolate an objection, not only is it giving you information about what you're dealing with so that you can solve it and serve them to help them reach a decision, but also from their point of view, you're helping them really clarify in their minds, well, what is the problem? Because again, a lot of the time they won't think about it, they'll just feel not ready to say yes. Like I feel I don't know, I don't have all the information, I'm not sure, let me think about it. It's uncomfortable, right? And so when you start isolating, you're taking somebody through a natural, not high pressure confrontational, just a natural process to have them start thinking, well, yeah, I do have a problem with this, and actually I'm not sure about this thing, and but if we could be sure about those things, then actually, yeah, I mean that really then would make a lot of sense. I'd feel good about that. Okay, cool. Like you're taking them through that process of self-reflection and discovery of what's blocking them from going ahead.
It's crazy because at that point, it's not even about sales. It's about human psychology
Yeah.
and them
Yeah,
reflecting
it's about
on
the
their
identity and who they want to become and like the steps they
Yeah.
want to take towards that person.
Yeah.
I guess like in the script that you were showing as well, I feel like when it gets to the last bit, it's a lot of short question, short answer, which often can then be like that kind of interview, interrogative kind of style. How do you make it more conversational to still make it flow nicely without like, okay, what about this? Why? You know,
Yeah.
next one, next one. Yeah.
That's a great question. Tone is so important. So when you're having
Yeah.
this conversation, when you're in discovery, so discovery at the start of the call, and when you're in this process of like flushing out and navigating objection handles, the way that you use tone is going to dictate how it feels. So discovery, you want to vary tone, because if you keep asking the same, so tell me about this, so tell me about this, and what about this, and what about this, tell me about this, what about the money in your business, what about your marketing, what about your sales, same tone, same tone, same tone, same tone, same tone. It's like, oh well, okay, Jesus Christ, I mean this is like a interrogation. So if you vary tone though, you might be like, okay, so what about your sales in your business? How's that working? Oh, okay, so you got a few salespeople. All right. How long have you been doing that? Oh, quite a while. What made you use that approach out of interest? Like, I'm exaggerating to make a point. But like inquisitive, curious, vary your tone,
Yeah.
pause, think. And same in this when we're talking about the objection handle process. You're asking a lot of questions and you're like, right, well, if say I'm drawing attention to, she told me XYZ earlier and mentioned that it was important to you to solve this problem. Walk me through how that looks. I'm sort of help me understand, right? And then they give you an answer and you're like, oh, why? Why that? And the next time you say why, and if you say every why, it's like, why? Why that? Like again, you sound like a parrot. The next time you're like, well, why that? Oh, interesting.
Something you haven't said, and I think you do naturally, is when you ask a question, you pause and you wait for the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'm gonna generalize and say, like, as a female, I used to like over explain or like, oh, why do you think that? Because the X, Y, and Z and this feature can do this and this feature. We've lost the plot if we are like over explaining and feature dumping.
Yeah.
And I think again, you do that very naturally. Maybe that's maybe not why you focused on it on this call, but I know that's something that I had to overcome. You
Yeah,
ask
go
the
for it.
question and you
You
pause
wait.
and you wait until they respond.
Has anyone heard the old school phrase in sales, he who speaks first loses? Yes,
Oh.
we Commander Thwaites. Fireworks! Goodness, somebody ignited the TNT. What happened? Okay, so John's heard of that. So
do that on our screen.
yeah, well, I think I need to turn a setting on, whatever. So it's very old school. It's like ABC, always be closing. It's like the 1970s, 1980s old school sales guys. Like, okay, let's not go overboard. But the principle in he who speaks first loses is actually quite relevant. And it's about this silence thing. It's about holding space. If you, for example, what Amy just mentioned, if you ask questions, over explain, try and fill space, it's naturally going to come across as unconfident, uncertain. You're not really sure. You're trying to push, force, you're trying to justify. It's like you're going to.
From a place of serving, because I think it's difficult to listen when you are speaking.
Yeah, and it's often like, yeah, you're not listening, and it's often more sort of a sort of desperation type energy as well.
Yeah, it does give off that energy. Yeah.
Imagine the difference of just saying like, why? Tell me, and then just
No.
silence, or hold space. And when they finished, and this is another thing as well, being comfortable in silence will serve you so well in sales. They finish speaking, don't immediately go like, okay, and then jump in with the next question. Sit for a minute. Like, if you can sit for 5 seconds and it'll feel like a lifetime. So let's say, for example, someone says something, I'm like, okay. I mean, that makes sense. I'm thinking that does actually make sense. You see like a 3-4 second pause there. If they've got something else to say, and you will get this so much once you start doing this, they stop talking, they pause, then the next thing that they fill the space with is absolute gold. If you're in discovery, it might be the real reason that they've never done something like this before, the biggest fear that they have in their business. It might be, you know, the deepest thing. Like there's many angles that it can go, but when you give someone space to share what's on their mind without interrupting, and you can just confidently sit in your own space, create the space, hold the space, sit in silence, think. You know, what somebody will choose to fill that space with can be magic sometimes. It will serve you so well. John, there used to be a saying in sales, when someone says, I want to think about it, the only person that ever came back was Jesus Christ. That checks out. Yeah, any I want to think about it deal, that is 19 times out of 20 is a dead deal.
Yes, John.
Yeah, there's something you just said that for the people watching it on the call and watching the recording.
Yeah.
When somebody just in not on a pitch or a presentation or a discovery call, but just when one of your chums or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your wife or whoever is speaking to you, and you don't jump straight back in and answer, you're doing them the respect of processing what it is. You know, people. So I do this. I keep silent often, and sometimes we need to process what has been said in order to give a considered and thoughtful response. So that is a brilliant habit, not just to deploy on a presentation, but just in life. Yeah, brilliant, Dan, brilliant.
Thanks, John.
Well,
It reminds me, I think there was a presentation, Steve Jobs, love him, hate him, whatever. He's a controversial, mixed opinions people have about him. But there was once he got a question at like a university lecture that he was doing. Student asked him a question, and he was on stage on the podium, and he thought about it for 27 seconds in silence, contemplating before he answered the question. Like, can you imagine in that room, like the next words that came out his mouth, everyone would have been like, what's he gonna say? What is this gold that's gonna come out of his mouth? And also like the value to contemplate for 27 seconds before answering. Imagine the perceived value about that next thing that came out his mouth. He's thought for a long time before answering this question. This is gonna be gold, right? So again, it's that silence. It's being able to hold that space and command silence. Very valuable. Right.